council meeting of July 21st, 2020. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. A quorum is present for the City Council, successor agency, Housing Authority, and Joint Powers Authority.
Okay. Any persons wishing to speak to the council in person can come to 1 Manchester Boulevard, City Hall, first floor, Community Room A, to listen, observe, and make public comments at the appropriate time. If you want to call in by telephone, listening to the meeting, or make public oral comments, you can participate by telephone. The dial-in is 888-251-2949 or 215-861-0694. The access code is 291-421-5#. The conference begins at 1:30 Pacific time, and all interested parties can join the conference 5 minutes prior to that time. If you're dialing in from a cell phone, please call from an area with good reception. If you're watching the meeting via Facebook Live or Channel 35, while accessing the phone line, it's requested that you mute the sound of your video feed as it is delayed from the phone line transmission. Additionally, when you make public comments on the phone line, you'll be inaudible due to feedback. Public comment. Any persons wish to address the City Council, successor agency, Housing Authority, Joint Powers Authority on any item on today's agenda other than the public hearings may do so at this time. See no one in Community Room A. Operator, are there any persons on the line?
There are no people on the line at this time.
All right.
Oh, one just came in.
All right. Take that public comment.
Paula, go ahead. Please make sure your line is unmuted. Okay, they've lowered their hand.
All right. Item 1, CSA 1 and H1.
Warrant registered.
Madam Clerk.
I need a second, Mayor. Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Council members, successor agency members, and Housing Authority members: Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales. Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Chairman Butts.
Aye. Public hearings. Madam Clerk, what is the next scheduled matter?
Yes, Mayor. The next scheduled matter is a public hearing to consider the adoption of a resolution making findings, overruling protests and objections, and ordering delinquent sewer fees and refuse charges be placed on the tax rolls for fiscal year 2020 through 2021.
Has the notice of the hearing been given in a time, form, and manner as required by law? And do you have the affidavit on file?
Mayor, notice has been given and an affidavit is on file.
Have any communications been received on the matter?
No communications have been received.
Is there a staff report on the matter?
Yes, Ms. Sharon Quickie, Assistant Vice Director. We'll get the staff report.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. I'm here to present the public hearing to place outstanding delinquent refuse and sewer charges on the property tax bill for collection. The majority of Inglewood residents and businesses receive water, refuse, and sewer services from the city, but approximately a quarter of the city receives refuse and sewer services only, and water is provided by an outside agency. For this section of the city, there is no mechanism to enforce collection of refuse and sewer fees. The County of Los Angeles mandates that refuse and sewer be provided to all residents and businesses for health and safety reasons. Since the collection of refuse and providing of sewer services is mandatory, the County of Los Angeles allows the city to hold the property owner liable and place these fees directly on the property tax bill after they have been properly noticed and public hearing has taken place. As of May 31, 2020, there were 320 delinquent refuse and sewer accounts with charges in excess of $250 and past due more than 90 days. The total outstanding amount of these accounts represents $166,639 of uncollected revenue. Each year, the city reviews delinquent refuse and sewer accounts and submits them to the County of LA for placement on property tax rolls for collection. Full collection of these outstanding charges prevents utility customers who are in good standing from having to subsidize the service delivery costs of others. The proposed 2020 year lien list contains residential, single-family, multi-unit apartment buildings and commercial properties. The Customer Service Division of the Finance Department has provided copies of tenants' delinquent utility bill notices to the affected property owners, as well as hearing notices in both English and Spanish. As in past years, the Finance Department will work directly with property owners to resolve issues concerning their delinquent accounts through the hearing date, and will work with customers to resolve their delinquent balance, even after the lien has been submitted to the County of Los Angeles. As of today, the Finance Department has worked with 97 property owners to have them removed from the lien list, and we look forward to working with any additional property owners that would like to resolve this issue directly. That concludes my presentation.
Have any communications been received on the matter?
No communications, Mayor, were received.
And we've had the staff report. Are any persons present who would wish to address the council on this matter? Operator, are there any call-ins on the line that want to address the council?
There's one caller. Caller, please go ahead.
Okay. I don't know who's on that list, but I just find it odd that you guys could tell people during for COVID-19, if they found out that they have a 3-month a waiver for paying the fee, then that they will have 6 months to pay it, and that now you want to put a lien on when that period is not expired, and many of these do not even know about things because people did not know you had possession during COVID-19 when the phone said that you guys were out, were gone, it was closed, and we were told by other people that city council was closed, or the city hall was closed, and they did not expect even to have city council meetings. So for you guys to be doing this while, ultimately, collection of past due bills is an important thing, but to have a public hearing, which was, in my opinion, not done, notification, et cetera, and then to just ignore people and raise the rates, then to, we got hit by COVID-19, have them say that you have 3 months to pay, and then 6 months to bring your account into from arrears or whatever it is, and then now you want to put liens on people. It just seems very, very odd and very, very unfair to handle something in that manner.
Thank you. Public comment portion is now closed.
Just real briefly, man.
Go ahead, Councilman Morales.
Ms. Quickie, you heard the caller right now in terms of how the 3-month versus 6-month and how we laid off originally in our thing. And how did you guys include that thought process in this particular action we're taking today? Because I know the timing of it is something you guys must have thought about.
All of the property owners who have delinquent sewer and refuse bills were notified. I believe there was more than one notification, but we've also, as we have in the past, we've offered them to come in and work with the finance department, and even if some of them wanted or requested some kind of payment process, we've worked with them. So as of today, we've had 97 people that we've worked with.
Oh, great. Thank you. I just wanted to know that was available to them
Yes.
throughout this process. Thank you, ma'am.
Mayor, comment.
Councilman Franklin?
The resident also raised the concern that we raised the rates. To my knowledge, we did not raise any rates, is that correct?
No, not to the sewer or the refuse. no.
Okay, I just want a point of clarity, because that's what was brought up by the
That's a
resident.
good one, too.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Padilla?
Just for all the folks out there watching on TV or listening or what have you, this is not something, please don't ignore it. Please don't ignore the notice. As Ms. Kueki says, the city is going to bend over backwards to work with each and every one of you. And they've already shown that by 97 folks being removed from the lien because they're working with all our property owners that find themselves in a tough situation to make this payment. So we can help you through this, but we can't do it if you don't reach out to us. So please do so. Please, if this is a hardship, please reach out to us so we can work with you. Thank you.
Thank you. I move approval.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council members Dotson,
Aye.
Padilla,
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye. Madam Clerk, what's the next scheduled matter?
Mayor, the next scheduled matter is a public hearing to receive public input on the draft fiscal year 2020 through 2021 annual action plan.
Before we go further, I want to direct the city clerk to file the necessary documents placing the delinquent refuse and sewer accounts on the County of Los Angeles property tax rolls for PH1, and that's a motion.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council members Dotson,
Aye.
Padilla,
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye. Have any communications been received on the matter?
No communications have been received, Mayor.
Is there a staff report?
Yes, Mr. Damian Pipkin will give the staff report. Oh, you can use it. Oh, let me check. Staff in the studio room, could you please put the presentation up on the screen? Oh, here you go. Oh, there it is. The clicker. Here you go.
Okay, good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. We're presenting the public hearing today for the annual action plan for the HUD funds, CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, and the Home Partnership Act grant. And so I'll get started here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the city receives these funds on an annual basis over the last 30 years, 30 plus years, 40 years. And they're used for a plethora of items to enhance the city with affordable housing and community needs. You know, in the past, we've done the summer camps. We do the Housing Rights Center to assist landlords and citizens, tenants with their rental assistance needs. And currently, we're doing a home rehab project. So part of this process is to get community input, if not at this meeting, just through emails or mail, which we also received. Okay, so this year for October 1, we'll be receiving from HUD $1.4 million. And you can see that public services, which are senior meals, summer camps, things of that nature, will be receiving $211,000. The administration of the program will be receiving $281,000. And eligible activities, such as the housing rehab program that we spoke about, and park facilities that will be upgraded throughout the city will be coming out of that $914,000. For the home funds, we'll be using $99,000 to administer that program. CHODO will be used for feasibility studies of affordable housing projects throughout the city. And eligible costs will be going towards rental assistance to help people who are having a hard time during the COVID crisis. These are two bar charts showing last year's allocation versus this year's allocation. So there was a slight decrease in CDBG funds from last year to the next year, and a slight increase of home funds from this year to next year. We're carrying over $200,000 for the CDBG program that we plan to use for park improvements. Projects. And and we're gonna do ownership programs and rental programs, along with our residential rehab program that's currently in place. Like I said, we received public comments already through the surveys, which are in the report that's online. And we received over 500 surveys, so we're very proud of that. And people have until August 14 to submit any comments they have about the plan, which is online. And we'll begin using these funds October 1. So we ask for you to adopt a plan so that we can move forward. And that concludes my presentation.
Are there any person present that wish to address the council on this matter? See no one in community room A. Operator, is there anyone on the line?
I have one person on the line.
Go ahead.
Paula, go ahead.
I'd like to thank the CDBG for their report. I do have some questions, however, because first of all, more money I think needs to go in the CDBG fund for to increase residential rehab, because there are many homes that are going to become like 100 years old, and they definitely need help. In addition, this is something for the whole city as well, and administration, because there's poor communication and city outreach, social, through whatever terms you guys are using, social media or whatever. Everybody's not getting anything. I don't believe that I got that that survey or anything else like that. And many people are still unaware. They have not had ample time to respond, and there's not been an ample effort to reach people for many of the programs for the city. I've been trying for 11 years, asking the city for answers, and I get very little. And the response has been bad from the administration. It is embarrassingly bad. There was thinking about leaving that for parking one space at the parking permit. Does that mean should be more money for the homeowners to keep their house so they don't end up homeless. The other programs are obviously important as well. They're more focused on homelessness and interest primarily, as opposed to homeowners. And the resolution is already written. You guys have in the thing that you guys are ready to sign to fix everything you guys wanted. So how does what I have to say as a citizen matter?
Ma'am, what's your name and your address?
I don't want to give it out publicly. Why, if you would like to know?
You said you're a citizen.
Yes, I am a citizen, and I have been contacting you and also the council person for many times, and I've been ignored, and you guys have not responded in writing, phone calls, or anything like that. It's a point.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We'll close public comment. Is there a motion?
Move item 2.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. Madam Clerk, what is the next scheduled matter?
Mayor, the next scheduled matter to be continued is a public hearing to consider the adoption of a resolution amending Inglewood Municipal Code, Chapter 8 and 12, including zoning code amendment 2018-01 to establish short-term rental regulations and short-term rental fees.
Continue public hearing to July 28, 2020 at 2 p.m. Madam Clerk, what's the next scheduled matter?
Yes, Mayor. The next scheduled matter is a public hearing to consider multiple actions associated with the Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center project that includes an arena intended to promote the enjoyment and recreation of the public by providing access to the city's residents in the form of spectator sports, specifically basketball, with up to 18,000 fixed seats to host National Basketball Association games, and with up to 500 additional temporary seats for other events such as family shows, concerts, corporate and community events, and other sporting events, and up to 85,000 square foot team practice and athletic training facility, up to 71,000 square feet of LA Clippers office space, and up to 25,000 square foot sports medicine clinic, up to 63,000 square feet of ancillary and ancillary and related arena uses, including retail and dining, an outdoor plaza adjacent to the arena, parking facilities, relocation of a City of Inglewood groundwater well, and various circulation infrastructure and other ancillary uses. The project will also include a limited service hotel.
Madam Clerk, has notice of the hearing been given in the time, form, and manner as required by law? And do you have the affidavit on file?
Yes, notice has been given. The affidavit is on file. The final agenda was posted on the city's website and physically posted at the City Hall as required by law.
Have any communications been received on this matter?
Communications have prior to the creation of the agenda books have been included in your packets. There has been no communications received from the time the agenda books were created to 8:00 a.m. this morning. Lastly, any communications received after today's 8:00 a.m. deadline through the close of this public hearing will be made part of the official record.
Is there a staff report on the matter?
A written staff report has been presented to council.
Receive and file the staff report.
Ms. Mindy Wilcox, Planning Manager, will give the council presentation.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Before you today, for your consideration, is the environmental impact reports and land use and entitlement proposals for the development of the Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center. In August of 2017, the city executed an exclusive negotiating agreement with Murphy's Bowl LLC for the development of a National Basketball Association professional basketball arena and other ancillary uses on the project site, which I will describe in a moment. Beginning in December 2017, the city commissioned an in-depth environmental analysis on the proposed project and associated entitlements. And on June 17, 2020, the Planning Commission considered the environmental analysis and planning entitlements that are before you today and recommended approval of these actions. Additionally, since the Planning Commission's recommendation for approval on July 1st, the County of Los Angeles Airport Land Use Commission reviewed the project and adopted an order and findings determining that the project is consistent with the Los Angeles County Airport Land Use Plan. The project site is located near the intersection of Prairie and Century, just south of the Hollywood Park development site that is currently under construction. The site is located approximately 1.5 miles east of the 405 freeway, 1 mile north of the 105 freeway, and 1.5 miles south of the forthcoming downtown Inglewood Metro station. And I apologize, the wrong presentation is showing on the screen. I just need to switch it out for the correct one. I apologize.
Pull this out. Take your time, it's okay.
Ms. Wilcox, so that we have a complete record, would you start at whatever point you felt there was a
Yes,
prior slide?
will do.
Thank you.
And I do apologize for
No,
that.
it's no problem, it's no problem. We just want an accurate record.
Okay. The project site is located near the intersection of Prairie and Century, just south of the Hollywood Park development site that is currently under construction. The site is located approximately 1.5 miles east of the 405 freeway, 1 mile north of the 105 freeway, and 1.5 miles south of the forthcoming downtown Inglewood Metro station. The project site is surrounded by a variety of industrial, commercial, and residential land uses. The subject site, shown here in yellow, is a total of 28 acres and is comprised of 4 individual sites. The 2 sites on the east and west ends are each 5 acres. The central site is 17 acres, and the adjacent small site to the southeast is 0.7 acres. As can be seen in this aerial view, much of the site is vacant. Approximately 23 of the 28 acres are vacant. This map also highlights the vacant property in green. Vacant land accounts for approximately 85% of the sites, and the developed sites are shown in colors other than green and include a fast food restaurant, a motel, warehouse, light manufacturing facilities, and a city groundwater well. These developed properties and a small portion of the vacant land comprise the privately owned parcels on the project site. The majority of the project site, approximately 84%, is city or successor agency owned, and the remainder is privately owned. The majority of the project site is located in the 65 to 70 decibel community noise equivalent level noise contour for the LAX flight path, with a small sliver of the project site in the 70 to 75 decibel contour. Many of the vacant or undeveloped parcels on the project site were acquired and cleared by the city or successor agency between the mid-1980s and the early 2000s. This was done utilizing grants issued by the Federal Aviation Administration that were aimed at removing residential land uses which were deemed incompatible with the flight path overhead. Since 1979, a number of steps have been taken by the city to situate the properties for land uses more compatible with the airport use of the flight path overhead, including general plan, zoning, and specific plan amendments to allow these more compatible land uses. So just to delve into that a little bit more, the existing general plan designation of the site shown here, highlighted in yellow, is commercial and industrial. These general plan designations have been in place as far back as 1979. The existing zoning shown here. There are 5 different zoning designations, including M1L in the light blue, which is limited manufacturing, C2A, which is airport commercial in the pink, P1 parking in gray, R2 limited multifamily in light tan, and R3 residential multifamily in the darker tan. The zoning designations of the properties to the west of Prairie were primarily established in 1961 when that land was annexed to the city, and the zoning to the east of Prairie was changed in 1979 from primarily residential to an industrial designation. And then the zoning was later amended in the 1980s to incorporate the airport commercial zone along Prairie and Century. Lastly, in 1993, the city established the Inglewood International Business Park Specific Plan, which encompasses the area shown in blue on this slide. When the specific plan was adopted, it established development standards and design guidelines that were aimed at the development of an industrial office park. Since that time, such development has not occurred, and the vision of the specific plan was never built out. Though the city took these legislative actions and also considered multiple industrial or business park development proposals for city land in the project area, only a limited amount of development has transpired in the project site area over the past 40 years. The project at hand presents a unique economic development opportunity that allows the city to transform vacant and underdeveloped parcels on the project site into productive, compatible land use following decades of prior efforts. Moving on to the project at hand, the project sponsor, Murphy's Bowl, LLC, proposes to develop an NBA arena and associated ancillary facilities on the project site. These facilities would include an arena and team practice facility, LA Clippers offices, sports medicine clinic, ancillary and related arena uses, including retail and dining, an outdoor plaza, parking facilities, relocation of a city groundwater well, a limited service hotel, and associated circulation and infrastructure improvements. On the west parking garage site would be located approximately 3,100 parking spaces in a 6-story parking garage. Vehicle entrances and exits to the garage would be on Prairie and Century. And development of the west parking garage would require the vacation of a portion of 101st Street. On the central arena site, it would include development of an arena with up to 18,000 fixed seats and 500 temporary seats. The team practice facility, which would be up to 85,000 square feet. The LA Clippers offices, which would be up to 71,000 square feet. The sports medicine clinic, up to 25,000 square feet, and up to 63,000 square feet of arena uses, such as retail and dining. The outdoor plaza would be located near the intersection of Prairie and Century, and the arena site would include 661 parking spaces. And then the arena site would be connected to the west parking garage with a pedestrian bridge over Prairie. Development of the arena site would require the vacation of a portion of 102nd Street. The city groundwater well site shown here would be the new location to replace the water well that's currently located on the arena site. And lastly, the East Transportation and Hotel site would include the development of a hotel with 100 to 150 guest rooms, 375 parking spaces for the arena uses, and a transportation hub that would include pickup and drop-off areas for shuttles and rideshare companies. And just to highlight the parking facilities to be constructed as part of this project for the arena, this lays out where the different parking allotments would be located. The parking for the Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center has been designed to meet municipal code requirements with a few limited assumptions of shared use of parking. The majority of the spaces are located in the west parking garage with 3,100 and an additional approximately 1,000 dispersed between the south and east parking garages. And that parking is separate from the parking that would be provided for the hotel. The east parking garage will also be the location for the project's transportation hub, which will include staging area for shuttles, minibuses, and rideshare companies. As part of the project, a number of land use entitlements and other entitlements are proposed. The first is a general plan amendment to the land use, circulation, and safety elements of the general plan. Within the land use element, the existing general plan designations within the project site are commercial and industrial. Most of the site is industrial with a band of commercial designation along Prairie Avenue of approximately 180 feet deep on the west side and approximately 100 feet deep on the east side, shown here in red. As part of the land use amendments, there'd be a map change to change the land use designations of the commercial properties to industrial. This would result in approximately 2.7 acres of land located along Prairie Avenue that would now have an industrial land use designation instead of a commercial designation. And that change is shown here. Again, this is the old, and this would be the new. Within the circulation element, changes would be made to reflect changes to the public right-of-way on 101st and 102nd Streets, as well as to reflect the sports and entertainment complex within the city. And lastly, within the safety element, map updates would be made to reflect the new water well location. And on June 17th, 2020, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this general plan amendment. The next entitlement is a specific plan amendment to the Inglewood International Business Park specific plan. The specific plan area is shown here highlighted in blue. As proposed, language would be added to the specific plan that excludes the project site from the specific plan such that its policies and regulations would not apply to the project site if the site is developed as the proposed sports and entertainment complex. And also on June 17th, 2020, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this specific plan amendment. The next change would be amendments to the municipal code outside of Chapter 12. These minor modifications are necessary to comply with some of the other zoning code amendments being made. In Chapter 2, modifications would be made to affirm and ratify the City Council's prior determination pertaining to procedures for disposition of city-owned real property. In Chapter 3, motor vehicles and traffic, changes would be made to conform with the general plan amendment to reflect revised truck routes on 102nd Street. In Chapter 5, modifications to applicable noise regulations for construction and permitted events or activities for the sports and entertainment complex. In Chapter 10, modifications to allow implementation of the comprehensive transportation demand management plan that will be required as part of the project in lieu of municipal code traffic demand management provisions. And lastly, in Chapter 11, modifications to public art regulations applicable to the project to allow for compliance with public art requirements through the development agreement rather than municipal code requirements. Next is a zone change. The proposed zone change would serve two purposes. The first would bring zoning designations into conformance with the underlying general plan designation. While the project site has an existing commercial industrial general plan designation, the overlying zoning does not fully conform with these designations. Much of the project site is zoned C2A and M1L, which conform, but 13 parcels have zoning designations that do not conform with the underlying general plan designations, which do not allow residential uses. And these parcels shown here, the gray and browns, are P1, R3, and R2 zoning. And it is not unusual for zoning to fall out of conformance with the applicable general plan land use designations over time, as changes are made to the general plan and not always made to the zoning concurrently. As such, the zoning of the P1, R3, and R2 sites, all vacant and city-owned, are proposed to be changed to C2A in order to conform with the industrial general plan designation. And this would rezone approximately 2.5 acres to C2A. In addition to these conforming modifications, the zone change would also establish a sports and entertainment overlay zone for the project site. The associated zoning code amendment would establish the regulations and development standards for this overlay. And on June 17th, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this zone change as well. And this revised map shows the proposed zoning and outline of the overlay. Under the proposal, there would also be a zoning code amendment. A new sports and entertainment overlay zone would be created for the entire proposed project site. The overlay would include new regulations pertaining specifically to the potential development of a basketball arena and ancillary facilities included in the developer's proposal, while keeping the underlying zoning in place. Development standards established by the overlay would include the following topic areas as zoning regulations, or would make reference to the applicable design guidelines. Definitions and permitted uses would define key terms such as arena and sports and entertainment complex. SE overlay review process. Under the overlay, SE design review will be conducted by the Economic and Community Development Department Director or their designee to confirm project conformance with the design guidelines. And the determination of the director can be appealed to the City Council. The overlay would also include setback requirements and range from 0 to 35 feet. The overlay includes height limitations, maximum height of 150 feet for the arena and event center structure and 100 feet for all other supporting structures. And as a point of comparison, the height limit for the underlying zoning is 200 feet for the M1L portions and 75 feet for the C2A portions. The overlay also includes parking and loading requirements. The parking and loading requirements proposed in the overlay are equivalent to or greater than the comparable parking requirements in the Inglewood Municipal Code. These parking requirements result in the provision of the parking as outlined before, and the proposed parking to be provided for the hotel is comparable to what is in the zoning code. Signage would also be addressed in the overlay. The overlay would specify prohibited signs, but the majority of regulations would also be contained in the design guidelines. Also, on June 17th, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this zoning code amendment. The next piece is the Sports and Entertainment Complex Development Guidelines, which include provisions for implementation and administration, design guidelines, and an infrastructure plan. The implementation and administration portion includes procedures related to the implementation and administration of the SEC development guidelines. The overarching review processes under the development guidelines would be the SEC design review and SEC infrastructure review. These reviews would be conducted by the Economic and Community Development Director or Public Works Director or their designees. The SEC design guidelines include project-specific design guidelines for the site in the following topic areas: site design and features, which includes requirements and guidelines related to setbacks, size limitations for specific uses, walls and fences, and grading and drainage. Design elements, which include requirements and guidelines related to building massing, facade design, roof lines, exterior building materials, screening, and pedestrian bridge aesthetic requirements. Landscape elements related to design, plant materials, and irrigation. Signage and graphics, lighting and acoustics related to decorative and security lighting. Sound walls and other sound attenuation features. Circulation, requirements and guidelines to incorporate safe and efficient vehicular access, as well as guidelines for designing the SEC to include accessible, inviting, and safe pedestrian facilities. Parking, guidelines related to facility access and design. Loading requirements, sustainability and environmental sensitivity, and design considerations for specific uses. And the last piece is the infrastructure plan. And this component includes requirements and guidelines related to on-site and off-site infrastructure components. And on June 17th, the Planning Commission recommended approval of these development guidelines. And the last entitlement is the development agreement between Murphy's Bowl LLC and the city. The development agreement would vest entitlements and establish community benefits to be provided as part of the project. These benefits include creation of jobs and workforce equity, and a couple examples from the development agreement are minority and disadvantaged business enterprises participation goals and job training for Inglewood residents. Next is commitments to affordable housing and renter support. Examples being funding for affordable housing and emergency support to Inglewood renters and anti-eviction services. The next inclusion in the development agreement, rehabilitation of the Inglewood Public Library and creation of a community center. Support for Inglewood youth and education, such as through after-school tutoring for Inglewood students and college scholarships for Inglewood students. Next is support for Inglewood seniors, improving Inglewood parks, and community engagement and collaboration. And on June 17th, the Planning Commission also recommended approval of the development agreement. As mentioned previously, the city commissioned preparation of environmental impact reports. The report studied 15 different environmental topic areas. It had a very in-depth and highly technical analysis behind the determinations, and 65 different event scenarios were examined, and 7 different alternatives were considered, including 5 that were off-site. As mentioned, the city commenced preparation of the EIR in 2017 when the city retained environmental science associates to begin preparation. In February 2018, a notice of preparation of an EIR was released by the city to collect feedback on the scope of the environmental analysis to be prepared. And the city also held an EIR scoping meeting in March 2018 to collect additional feedback in person. On December 27th, 2019, the city released the draft environmental impact reports, and comments on the draft report were collected for 88 days, which is 43 days more than the required 45-day comment period. The final EIR was released June 3rd, 2020, and on June 17th, the Planning Commission recommended certification of the EIR. Within the environmental analysis, the traffic study conducted included analysis of 114 intersections, 65 different scenarios consisting of different times of day, different days of the week, and different special event conditions. 28 different street segments were analyzed, and as part of the traffic analysis, it was assumed that concurrent events could be occurring at both the Forum and SoFi Stadium. As a result, from the environmental impact reports, a number of significant impacts were determined. Some were mitigated, some were not fully mitigated. But there are a number of transportation improvements that came out of the environmental impact reports and the impacts that were realized there. This slide highlights some of those transportation improvements. The first is contributions towards the city's intelligent transportation system. Some of these improvements would include smart technology improvements to corridor signal timing, a traffic command center on the arena site, changeable message signs, and a hospital access plan. Targeted street widenings to allow for improved turning movements. New turn lanes along Prairie and Century in the vicinity of the arena. Crosswalk improvements on Prairie and Century. Signal improvements also on Prairie and Century. And event traffic management, such as shuttle drop-off and event traffic control officers. Those are some of the improvements to our local streets. The environmental impact report also resulted in some improvements to be made to the freeways in the area. In particular to the 405 and 105. Improvements would be made to improve flow on the main lines as well as on on-ramps and off-ramps. Staff has issued an environmental impact report errata memorandum. As a result of the city's review of public comments received, it was decided to make minor revisions to some of the impact report mitigation measures that were included in the final report. The revisions included in the EIR errata make changes that clarify and make more stringent the requirements of several mitigation measures. The changes contained in the EIR errata do not weaken or eliminate any mitigation requirements that were reflected in chapters 2 and 4 of the final EIR. And the mitigation measures as amended in this document would not result in the proposed project causing any new or substantially more severe impacts compared to those described in the EIR, and would not generate any new or substantially more severe secondary impacts as a result of mitigation measures implemented. And language has been included in the proposed EIR certification resolution to incorporate these errata changes. As mentioned before, the draft EIR was released, and for 88 days, we collected comments on it. The city received 142 written comments on the draft EIR, and those were responded to in the final EIR. Additional comments received after the draft EIR comment period closed have been responded to in comments and responses, a memo which is attached to the City Council staff report. Now, at this time, I'd like to pause for a moment and have Whit Manley, outside Special Environmental Counsel for Rummy Moose Manley, make a few comments. Mr. Manley has been part of our consultant team in the preparation of the environmental impact reports.
Mindy?
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Butts, members of the council, my name is Whit Manley. I'm an attorney with the law firm Remy Moose Manley. We're serving as the city's CEQA counsel in this matter. I want to take a few moments to address the EIR before you today. The EIR was prepared by Environmental Science Associates. ESA is the same firm that led the environmental analysis that was prepared for Golden One Arena in Sacramento and also the Chase Arena in San Francisco. ESA understands projects of this sort better than any other firm in the state. The transportation analysis was prepared by Farron Peers, the leading transportation consulting firm in the state. Their expertise is unmatched. And on top of that, city staff has been active and engaged participants in the environmental review process throughout. And their diligence on behalf of the city has been very impressive to me. Taken as a whole, no effort was spared in preparing the CIR. The draft and final EIRs together are more than 2,700 pages in length, not including appendices. The traffic analysis alone is more than 500 pages. Although the EIR is very detailed, it's also written in a very straightforward, accessible style, and it's easy to navigate. The nature of the secret process is that the lead agency, in this case the city, puts forward its analysis, and other agencies and interested members of the public are invited to weigh in. Here, again, the city took an unusual approach in terms of reaching out to those who commented to solicit their input and to respond to it. So when the city received comments from other agencies or stakeholders on the draft EIR, the city called them up and met with them and gained further input. And if you look at the final EIR, you'll see that many of the responses to comments reflect follow-up meetings and phone calls with commenters, including Caltrans, the Los Angeles Department of Transportation, the South Coast Air Quality Management District, the Natural Resources Defense Council, and many others. And as you'll see, based on those meetings, those phone calls, the city responded to the commenters' proposals by incorporating their recommendations into the project. Now, despite these efforts, the city has received critical comments from a couple of people who own property in the area or the lawyers who represent them. These people did not participate in the secret process. Instead, they have submitted critical comments at the last moment. These tactics are unfortunate. They are not trying to make the project better. They are simply trying to use the secret process to obstruct things. That is, unfortunately, the nature of the beast and the nature of the process. And in fact, those tactics have continued. At 1:55 p.m. today, the city was emailed a 27-page comment letter from someone who had not participated in the draft EIR comment process. That's the way it goes. But I do want to respond to a few of the comments that have been made. First, the claim is made that the city is engaged in a cursory analysis of the project. And in response, I simply invite you to look at the EIR itself. The word cursory would not describe that EIR. It's very detailed. Second, the claim is made that the public has somehow been excluded from the process. That claim is not correct. The environmental review process here has been unusually transparent every step of the way. In fact, the city's entire record, including the EIR, have all been posted to a dedicated website accessible to all. And as Mindy mentioned, the city provided a comment period twice the required length. Third, the claim is made that the project is somehow getting a free pass. That claim is not correct. The project is subject to an extensive list of mitigation measures, conditions of approval, and design guidelines. And the benefits package in the development agreement is, by any measure, impressive. As consultants to the city, our job is to review comments as they come in to make sure whether they raise issues already addressed or whether further analysis is required. And in this case, we conclude that the last-minute comment raised issues that have already been addressed by city staff and consultants. For example, the city received a late comment raising questions about the mitigation measures proposed to address the project's greenhouse gas emissions based on a new court case that came out of San Diego just a month ago. Most of the project's mitigation measures for these emissions are local and will benefit the city's residents, and that's quite unusual. The applicant can also acquire emission offsets so that no net new greenhouse gas emissions will occur as a result of the project. Working with our consultants, the city in the errata revised this mitigation measure to make sure that if the applicant relies on offsets, then the offset must meet the stringent standards established by the California Air Resources Board. This is the most rigorous mitigation measure I have ever seen addressing these sorts of emissions. The same approach is reflected throughout the EIR and throughout the record. If the city has received comments, it has worked very hard with the consultants and the applicant to try to make the project better. That is exactly the way the secret process is supposed to work. We are going through the 27-page letter that just came in on the literal eve of the City Council's hearing. If we have any further comments to address based on that letter, we will do so after the close of the comment period. But in the meantime, if the council has any questions about the process or the analysis, we'd be happy to address them. Thank you for your attention, and thank you very much, Mindy.
Thank you, Whit. So lastly, I would just like to go through the recommendations at this time briefly. First is a recommendation to adopt a resolution certifying the environmental impact report and associated environmental documents. The next recommendation to adopt a resolution approving General Plan Amendment 2020-003. The next recommendation to adopt a resolution approving specific plan amendment number 2020-001. The next recommendation is to adopt an ordinance approving zone change number 2020-001. Next is adopt an ordinance approving zoning code amendment number 2020-002. Next is recommendation to adopt an ordinance to amend Inglewood Municipal Code chapters 2, 3, 5, 10, and 11. And the next is a recommendation to adopt a resolution approving the sports and entertainment complex design guidelines and infrastructure plan. And lastly, a recommendation to adopt an ordinance approving a development agreement between Murphy's Bowl LLC and the city. This concludes staff's presentation, and I'm available for any questions. And please be advised that the city's EIR consultant team is available for any questions you may have as well. This includes Brian Boxer of Environmental Science Associates, the city's CEQA consultant, Whit Manley of Remy Moose Manley, Special Environmental Counsel to the city, and Royce Jones of Kane, Balmer, and Berkman, Special Counsel to the city. Thank you.
Okay, is there going to be a presentation by the applicant?
Just one clarification on the recommendations for the ordinances. The recommendation would be to introduce, not adopt at this time, per the city charter.
All right. Is that in the presentation? Is that in the presentation?
No, in staff's presentation.
Okay.
Just a clarification.
Okay, so Mr. City Attorney, if there's any comment by the applicant, is now the time, or would they do it in public comment?
The applicant can provide it at the discretion of the council.
Okay, we'll let them do it at the beginning of public comment. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Applicant comment.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Gerard McCallum. I'm with Wilson Meany, and I greet you on behalf of Wilson Meany, Development Manager representing Murphy's Bowl and the Inglewood Basketball Entertainment Center. I have worked with many of you for the past 20 years, starting with a small project on Florence and Inglewood Avenue, and a not-so-small project on the corner of Manchester and Prairie. Well, 20 years later, and a few projects under our belt, you know who we are. Our commitment to process, our commitment to community, and our commitment to excellence. I want to thank the city staff, Chris Jackson, Mindy Wilcox, Fred Jackson, Louis Atwell, and countless others, including Yakima Dekur, and the city's legal representation, spearheaded by Royce Jones, for the countless hours you have put in challenging us to develop a project that we all can be proud of. Proud from a standpoint of sustainability, architectural integrity, and community inclusion. These projects are iconic. They are designed by the best architects and engineers in the world. There isn't anything like them in Inglewood, or Los Angeles, or the state of California, or New York, or the United States, or the world. They represent excellence, and they should be. They represent Inglewood. Correction, the beautiful city of Inglewood. I'm going to stop talking and turn over this portion of our presentation to what we hope, if the project is approved, will be your new neighbors. If the staff can roll the tape.
What will it mean for professional basketball to return to Inglewood? Excitement, fun, and pride.
Hi, I'm Steve Ballmer, and I can't tell you how absolutely thrilled we are to be presenting to you today. We're so excited to get our new arena project across the finish line in Inglewood, and we hope we have really done a job that you can be proud of too. I want to thank Mayor Butts and the members of the Inglewood City Council and all of the city staff who've worked very hard to vet this project, demand that it meets high environmental standards, and ensures that it'll be a positive contributor to what's going on in the city of Inglewood. We're excited for the LA Clippers to have a home of our own right here in Southern California, and even more excited to have a house right here in Inglewood. The Clippers and Inglewood have a common bond. At various times, both the team and the city have been seen as underdogs and even counted out by the critics. Well, that sure hasn't been right for Inglewood, and it's sure not right now for the Clippers. We do share, though, a similar heart, a heart that's made up of character, of grit, of creativity, and a commitment to community. In addition to building our home court, our practice facility, a number of nice plaza buildings, our corporate offices, we've also agreed to put in, at the request of the city, community benefits of $100 million. That includes $75 million to support affordable housing, $5 million to support first-time home buyers, and $20 million supporting youth and family programs. I want to boldly tell you our vision for this arena. We want to simply make it the single greatest place in the world for basketball, a basketball palace with no peer. We want to make sure that we are giving back to our community and to being great citizens here in Inglewood. And we want it to be a place that feels comfortable and cared for and inspires all members of the Clipper community and the broader Inglewood community to do their very best. Today's vote is a big milestone for our project. We look forward to celebrating the achievement in person, breaking ground on the project, and by 2024, tipping off and get ready for the first Clipper game in the city of Inglewood. Appreciate your time, appreciate your consideration, hope everything is to your liking, and I gotta say, since we're right about playoff time, go Clips.
I've had the opportunity to get to know many of you over the last few years. But for those of us that have not met, I'm Gillian Zucker, and I'm the president of business operations for the LA Clippers. I've been so impressed and truly inspired by the Inglewood community, from the Chamber of Commerce to the religious community, small businesses, and families. Everyone has made us feel so welcome. That feeling of inclusion is just one of many reasons we are thrilled to be moving the Clippers organization to the city of Inglewood. As you know, this project is about so much more than just an arena. When the project opens in 2024, it will be home to our practice facility as well as our corporate offices. That means not just during the season, but year-round, our staff and coaches, and yes, even a few of our players, will make Inglewood our workplace home base. For the Clippers, this is an incredible opportunity to build a world-class campus for our team, staff, and especially for our fans. And I can promise you, after countless hours researching, brainstorming, and sketching with a team of the very best minds in arena development, the facility promises to be unlike any other. Immersive, tech-forward, environmentally friendly, but most of all fun. loud, and engaging in a way to create a true home court advantage as we strive to bring multiple championships to the City of Champions. We recognize this facility as an opportunity for Inglewood too. We are bringing an economic engine to the city, creating jobs, helping small businesses, and boosting the tax base. We're committed to that effort. Our project includes a 30% local hire goal for construction jobs and a 35% local hire goal for permanent operational jobs. So thank you. Thank you for supporting the project. Thank you for welcoming us to your city. We truly cannot wait to call Inglewood our home.
When I left Inglewood, after many years of being a player and executive, it was the saddest day of my life. The city's loyalty and dedication to the team that was there was enormous. It was a loss for me to leave Inglewood. And to everyone who's so interested in this arena being built, Steve Ballmer is the best owner maybe in all of sports. He will bring more to this city than a team. He is committed to the city of Inglewood.
Now transitioning to our journey that has brought us to this point. We believe the processing of the Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center's environmental impact report was the most thorough and transparent endeavor taken upon by the city of Inglewood. It produced one of the most comprehensive and conservative environmental impact reports. Without a doubt, it is the most in-depth EIR ever prepared in the city of Inglewood. The scope, degree, and depth go beyond what is typical for an urban infill project. Thousands of pages of analysis were provided, 15 different environmental areas studied, 65 different scenarios, including 7 alternatives with 5 offsites. This project is designed to meet LEED Gold standards. It will be a first for the city of Inglewood. That means we will exceed Title 24 energy efficiency measures by at least 10%, water savings of a building of this size of over 40%, a zero waste program with recycling and composting as a part of our programs, maximizing the potential value of local environment to provide free cooling. We live in the city of Inglewood, which has a microclimate that is ideal to being able to use that climate to cool the building. Visitor education program to advocate for sustainability and environmental responsibility, and the use of local and recycled materials. Additionally, we will conduct a clean construction process. What that means is the use of energy efficient equipment, transferring wherever possible from non-diesel equipment to electric and alternative fueled vehicles. Using, if available, net zero or zero emission haul trucks if available. Limited work hours to limit our idling times. And then finally, we will be providing the city with consultant support to make sure our process remains clean. In addition to this, the fiscal impact report provided by both the city and our consultants on a conservative basis estimates the project will generate over $148 million in net new tax revenues over the next 20 years. This is exciting because the property right now generates zero in tax revenues. In addition to that, over $200 million in annual economic activity for Inglewood via NBA basketball games and community events. And finally, during the construction phase, over $400 million in wages will be generated. Other direct benefits. We went over zero net greenhouse gas emissions. We will be generating on site over 1 million kilowatt hours of electricity through the use of solar panels on the rooftop. 40% water savings, as we mentioned before. We will also be planting 1,000 trees in the city of Inglewood to increase the green canopy. In addition, over 330 on-site EV chargers will be in our parking garages and parking sites. We will also be providing the citizens of Inglewood with the opportunities through a rebate program to change over and add EV chargers to their homes as the vehicle fleet changes from gas to electric. And then finally, assisting the city with its municipal fleet by replacing 10 of those vehicles. On the community side, over 7,000 union construction jobs will be generated by this project. 30% of those will be earmarked for local residents. And over 1,500 jobs will be developed post-construction, with 35% of those earmarked for Inglewood residents. I also want to say that during the construction projects, 30% of our construction contracts will be earmarked for local minority and disadvantaged businesses. We have always said the Clippers Arena in Inglewood is bigger than sports. It's about jobs and economic equity. To that point, this project will generate over $100 million in community benefits. That's an extraordinary amount of money. There's no other project that we can think of in the United States that's even come close to this amount of community benefits. Of the $100 million, over $80 million will be dedicated towards affordable housing and renter support. This will provide assistance for first-time homebuyers program, emergency support funds, and anti-eviction services for Inglewood residents, acquisition, preservation, and development of affordable housing. It will also allow capacity building for local nonprofits focusing on expanding housing opportunities. $20 million will be dedicated towards education, youth, and community programs. The creation of a new community center, including the rehabilitation of the main libraries at the heart of this, after-school tutoring for Inglewood students, youth innovation and design camps, and keeping Inglewood students in schools initiatives and programming, college scholarships, as well as opening pathways to college for Inglewood students are also part of the program. And then one of my favorite portions of that, senior center funding and programming. Finally, our commitment to community engagement and collaboration. Once the arena has been constructed, we will allow charitable causes to be a part of our processes there, giving access to community groups for NBA games, and then plaza programming for youth in the area. And finally, to our supporters. Over our 3-year journey here, we have gathered quite a few supporters. Hundreds of people have signed up, have been a part of this journey, have been with us through our initiation process. And we thank all those supporters in the Inglewood community, as well as the local businesses. These are a few of the 400 or 500 people that have signed up as supporters of this project. And finally, to our biggest supporter of all, Mr. Willie Agee, who passed a few months ago from COVID-19, but was our biggest Inglewood supporter. And to that, we say thank you, Mr. Agee. With that, we will turn back to the city moderator and make ourselves available for questions.
Before we go to public comment, just one question, Mr. McCallum. The project was vetted through the California Air Resources Board, is that correct?
That's correct.
And it was forwarded to the governor, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, thank you. With that, we're going to open public comment.
Mayor, before we open, Mayor,
Yes?
I just want to say a quorum is present.
Okay.
Okay, just to bring this.
Ms. Brown, you're not called up. You aren't called upon yet. Please have a seat.
I'm sorry, I can't understand you.
I said, please have a seat.
When is public comments?
Please have a seat. Operator, are there any persons on the line?
And we do have one person. And caller, please state your name and question.
Good afternoon, Mayor Butts, and good afternoon to the members of the Inglewood City Council. My name is Robert Gaskill, and I'm thrilled to speak to you today about the Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center project. For more than 2 decades, I have been in the transportation business. My company, Motive, is dedicated to the environmental transportation solutions, and we work every day to make sure that we are not only environmentally responsible, but that we are also environmental leaders. We are passionate about the environment, community, and progress, which is why we are also passionate about the Clippers new arena project. This project will be LEED Gold certified, and it will become one of the most environmentally friendly, energy efficient sports venues in the country, in the entire country. Sustainability is at the heart of this design. The project creators and environmental experts produced one of the most extensive environmental reviews ever conducted on a project of this kind, and the result will be a positive game changer. The Clippers' sustainability improvements include some of the most extensive I've ever seen, including new electric vehicle charging facilities for 1,000 area residents, net zero greenhouse gas emissions, and planting of 1,000 new trees. We especially like that idea, the planting of the new trees. Its motive is also committed to planting a new tree for every vehicle trip we take. This is an extraordinary project by the extraordinary organization. It is truly world class, and Steve Ballmer's commitment to our community is unparalleled. We're fortunate he chose Inglewood to be the new home of the Clippers, and we enthusiastically support the project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Operator, are there any other persons public comment on this public hearing?
Yes, we do. 1 second. Caller, please state your name and question.
As a resident, I consider myself a stakeholder, and just for starters, regarding the attorney's response about people not being notified, part of that is, and I'm not a party to that letter that he received, but part of that is that we don't get notifications as citizens, and the response from administration is what you want to tell and there's a minimum that have to do instead of trying to reach every citizen so that we can know what's going on and that we can actually have impact. And I'm sure that the stadium is clearly going to be built. The Clippers arena is clearly going to be built. I expect it to be beautiful, and the immediate surrounding and areas will be improved. You guys talk about broader community. There are those of us who live in other parts of the city who aren't having any improvements, which is partly the administration. And I would like to call on the Clippers to perhaps maybe have a even tighter relationship to help improve the overall city if they can, and maybe put some emphasis in there so that that we can have access to facilities, we can have access to our own city. I am concerned with the traffic impact, and also if the Clippers could maybe direct some of the funds towards long-term residents and homeowners, because all of the initiatives that come out are for the homeless, they're for the renters, they're never for the homeowners. I think it's great that this is a LEED Gold certified project, and instead of, at the outset, not the outset, the outer rim, if they are doing emissions offset, it would be really great if they could be really creative and just actually reduce any of those other emissions instead of buying the offsets, and move toward flat instead of buying any offsets. I'm concerned about tax breaks, and I'd like to know when will citizens actually start seeing the benefits and start seeing the revenue. There's some ideas, maybe, the artist concerts for all the citizens, not just the children. I think children are very important, and they need to be given all access and benefits, absolutely. I'd like to see parking discounts, maybe ticket discounts, and for residents, and tours of the facilities, because we don't know if there's ever anything going on. And in particular, about the tax breaks, I'd like someone to talk, please, about the opportunity zone, or I understand part of the Clippers thing is on the opportunity zone, and there's no capital gains tax, and how that's going to be benefiting the city over there, or that we will be recouping into that money, and if that's being offset by good parking for citizens who may be able to afford to go to games, or something like that. I don't know.
Thank you, caller. Operator, or any other callers?
Yes, we have two on the line. 1 moment. Caller, please state your name and comment.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of the Inglewood City Council. My name is Ricardo Rosales, and I'm the director of the Midnight Missions Home Life Family Living Program here in Inglewood. This is such an important issue, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. This item is much more than basketball. It's about lives, jobs, affordable housing, and the quality of life. This year, as we celebrate 25 years in Inglewood, I know firsthand the challenge of finding affordable housing in California. I deal with it every day. As a matter of fact, we're trying to talk to some of our families about co-sharing units if they can't afford to. So affordable housing is a real game changer here in Inglewood. The crisis is real, and it can be crippling. But there is hope, and this project provides that, provides much-needed hope, and Inglewood has an extraordinary opportunity ahead. The Clippers are proposing a unique, unprecedented, game-changing investment in our community. Among other things, they're creating a $75 million affordable housing program. Unheard of this time of days, unheard of by 14. That's $75 million in our community. These programs will help our families lift themselves out of poverty and give their children a real shot at achieving their dreams. There's also a commitment for an additional $5 million for renters assistance, legal assistance, and new homebuyer assistance. It's a first in our community. Mr. Balmer, the Clippers owner, is not a newcomer when it comes to this type of gift, by the way. Over the last 3 years alone, the Balmer Group has given over $300 million to help fight poverty and inequity. He runs the most philanthropic sports team in America, and I could not be more excited to have him as our new neighbor. Please vote to support the Inglewood Basketball Entertainment Center, an opportunity of a lifetime that will bring positive generational change to our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Brown, did you have a comment on this public hearing?
I just certainly want to thank Mindy Wilcox, our planning manager, for just an excellent, thorough presentation. Thank you, Mindy. And Christopher Jackson, who is the Economic and Community Development Director. Christopher, thank you for your hard work that you have put forth in this project. We are very much appreciative of your work. And I want to thank Steve Ballmer for this proposed Clipper basketball arena, which is going to be a huge plus for our city. With regards to the $80 million that's been pledged for affordable housing, is much needed. Mr. Ballmer, I want to thank you for that, as well as the $20 million that you have also offered support for education support. And also the jobs that this arena is going to bring. We want to thank you for that. So your community support with regards to rental assistance also, our city is very appreciative of that, and all of this is going to be a tremendous benefit, for our residents of Inglewood, and we're just looking so forward to this project starting and all of the jobs that it's going to be presenting, and we are again especially appreciative of your very generous community support to the city of Inglewood.
Operator, are there any other callers on the line?
We do have 3 more callers. Callers, please state your name and comment.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. My name is Robert Silverstein. I represent Kenneth and Dawn Bain, proud owner of the property located at 121 South Ferry. Let the record reflect that prior to this hearing, we submitted a objection to the use of 21 pages and several exhibits. First, the AB 97 process is unconstitutional. We put you on notice of that again. Second, we object to all actions, including the final CIR and development agreement proposed for approval today. They violate CEQA's mandates and other laws as discussed in our many objection letters. We are concerned that the law has not been followed. In addition, your late errata are not proper. Finally, regarding the unnecessary and inaccurate ad hominem attack from your CEQA counsel, remember, you seek to take property. If you think that stakeholders are not supposed to be demolished, then you apparently think the Constitution does not apply in England. But the resolution does apply. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Operator, are there any more callers?
Caller, please state your name and comment.
Hello?
Go ahead, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mayor Butts and honorable members of the Inglewood City Council. My name is Halima Ginyard, and I'm the president of the Inglewood Airport Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm a 25-year resident of the beautiful city of Inglewood, as Mr. A.G. would say. I'm also a proud supporter of the Inglewood basketball team. I'm excited about the vote today. I can directly about the Clipper community image. I witnessed firsthand. Had the opportunity to work with the Clipper organization, their community team members on a number of projects, including college scholarships, turkey giveaway, Juneteenth, birthday, toy drive, and hashtag lunch bag. This initiative that started. I've seen their passion. I've seen their commitment. It's genuine. This is a big day for Inglewood. I wish Mr. A.G. was here. I respectfully ask that you approve the Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Operator, are there any other callers?
We have a last caller. Caller, please state your name and comment.
Good afternoon, Mayor Butts and honorable members of the Inglewood City Council. My name is Dexter Hall. I'm a longtime resident of Inglewood. Today, in support of the Inglewood Entertainment Center. This has been a long time coming. The Clippers organization has been working with this project for years to get to this point. They have collaborated with community organizations and world-class experts to create the most environmentally friendly arena we have ever seen. But they want the arena to be more than a simple building. It can become of the heart of a vibrant community, and it's the first class of the way, which is the community of Inglewood serves. The LA Clippers and Steve Ballmer have been community partners from day one. They've listened, they've heard community concerns, and they've worked to trust the needs of all community members. They continue to go above and beyond. In addition to the arena facilities, jobs, mental benefits, and economic benefits, Mr. Ballmer has committed to an unprecedented community benefits program, including affordable housing, education, and programs. He and his organization are special. They understand and acknowledge that systematic inequalities exist, and they are committed to improving lives. They are the kind of neighbors we fortunately have. For those reasons and many more today, I respectfully request that you approve Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and City Council.
Operator, are there any other callers on the line?
Yes, caller, please state your name and comment.
Thank you, Mayor Butts and the members of the City Council. My name is Christian Martin, and I'm proud to live and work in the city of Inglewood. My family owns and runs Fiesta Martin Mexican Grill, and we're all strong supporters of the new Clippers Arena project. Inglewood is a perfect location for the new Clippers Arena. I can't wait. As a business owner, I know this would be an important economic stimulus for my generation and the next, helping create quality jobs for our community. And we need that now more than ever. This economic crisis is hitting our small businesses hard. So we're looking forward to the economic activity this project will bring to our community and our neighbors. Speaking of neighbors, Mr. Ballmer looks like he'll be the best neighbor we can imagine. He's already committed $100 million to support affordable housing, renters assistance programs, youth programs, student scholarships, libraries, and senior services. And I know he's taking great steps to ensure traffic and parking are managed well, while protecting the environment. I've been a supporter of the arena since the beginning, and I'm excited that today we're finally having a vote. I respectfully ask you to support the new Clippers Arena project. Thank you.
Operator, any other callers on the line?
At this time, there are no more callers.
Now, are there any public speakers in Community Room A that wish to comment? Yes, yes, hi.
How's it going? Hi. How does this work?
We see you.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I think my time starts. Yeah, cool. Hi, everyone. My name is Anthony. I am a resident of Inglewood. I've lived here my entire life. I am, oh man, I just got cold feet. I just wanted to thank the council and the city for everything that's been going on. I just wanted to share our story. I remember as a kid growing up here and seeing a lot of dilapidated signs, and I would pass by the forum pretty frequently, and it was still blue, and nothing was going on there, and it made me sad. I remember passing by day after day and wanting to see my favorite musicians perform there. When the fabulous forum was reintroduced, I naturally got very, very excited. And when the SoFi Stadium was introduced or announced, I was also very, very excited. I always saw that sign that said City of Champions, but as a child, I never really felt that. And it wasn't until seeing these revitalizations that I felt I could be a part of that champion label. With the introduction of the Clippers Stadium, I feel even closer to that label. Now, I'm a budding musician, I should just disclose that right now, and it's my ambition to eventually play in these arenas and in these stadiums. And I just want to thank the council and everyone for inspiration and really leading me, and not just me, others, to aspire to the label of champion. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other persons in community room A?
Oh, sorry.
Hello, Mayor and council members. Good afternoon. It's an honor to be speaking beside y'all. So I have a few questions. I'm a longtime community member and resident of District 3, where the supposed new Clipper Stadium it's going to be built around. So I have a few questions for the mayor, for anyone who is concerned. What will you do to protect and make sure that the residents of District 3 are not displaced due to not only infrastructure, but by financial disparities? You say 85% of the land planned to be used for this project is vacant and privately owned. But what about the 50% of residents that are long, loyal Inglewood residents? Do they not have a say on what happens to their community? You say that 5 acres of the vacant land is planned to be used, but I don't believe that that is big enough for your far-fetched industrial dreams. I think that you're going to want to need more and are going to force more businesses to close down and to overtake that land. And you say that you plan to use $20 million to go into public social services, but I think you plan to use that $20 million for a specific target demographic. But how will you make sure that that specified demographic that you plan to target to use this money to benefit will remain the same? And what percentage of revenue do you plan to take out of the Clipper Stadium that they make so this money can go into Inglewood businesses down sometimes they go to bankrupt really fast down in Market Street? That's all the questions I have for the council and for the mayor.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other public comments? Okay, with that, operator, if there are no other commenters on the line,
We do have one more comment on the line.
please go ahead.
Caller, please state your name and comment.
Finally, this is Trina Lawson. Can you hear me okay? Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. This is Trina Lawson, and I just wanted to voice my support on behalf of children and students in the city of Inglewood. I've attended church and also been a business owner a community leader in Inglewood for over 30 years, and I just want to make sure that we look at children. As an educator, I have served children for years, and I represent these families, and we have to think long term. It's not just about basketball. It's about the future of our kids. Where are they going to go to work 10, 15, 20 years from now? We've seen Steve Ballmer invest and give $100 million into our community, so we understand the commitment is there. It's vital and important to us to consider where are our children going to work, live, earn an income. This is a great perk for the economy of Inglewood. It's a great asset for the parents. This is about our leaders of tomorrow, and I just wanted to voice that concern and say that I support the Clipper Stadium in Inglewood. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Lawson. Operator, are there any other callers on the line?
At this time, there are no more callers.
All right, with that, we're going to close public comment. I want to make a couple points of clarification. First of all, the arena is scheduled to be built in District 4, not District 3. Secondly, there has been no condemnation of either residential property or church property in this process. And there has been no city revenues that have been pledged to the construction of the private portions of this project. And I just want to make those points of clarity. Oh, another thing too about small businesses. The reality is this, that small businesses, and this is a educational, theoretical, but small businesses thrive better when there are people and cars in greater numbers that come through your city, because there are people that may need your services or goods. So there is no city money pledged to this. On the contrary, on the other side, there are not revenues that would flow rightfully to the developer and operator who has to operate this complex with his own money and own funds. And so I just wanted to make that clear to the operator. The benefit to the city, Mr. McCallum had up a slide and he talked about ancillary economic benefits. He talked about what it would generate and the way projected revenues that it would generate from total activity in the city. And that's what small businesses get out of this. So with that, I want to make a motion to adopt a resolution certifying the project environmental impact report number EA, E as in Adam, E as in Edward, A as in Adam, EIR 2020-045, State Clearinghouse number S as in Sam, C as in Charles, H as in Henry, 201-802-1056, and adoption of a mitigation monitoring reporting program and California Environmental Quality Act CEQA findings and statement of overriding considerations. Is there?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Council members Dotson.
Aye. Aye.
I'm sorry, Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye. Before we make any further motions, we're going to take a recess for 2 minutes. Clerk, we're done with the recess and we're back on the record. And
Mayor.
so we
A quorum is present.
okay, thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to make the second motion.
All right.
So motion 2, I make a motion to adopt a resolution approving general plan amendment number 2020-003 to modify the land use element, circulation element, and safety element of the Inglewood general plan with conforming map and text changes to reflect the plan for the project, including A, redesignation of certain properties in the land use element from commercial to industrial. B, addition of specific reference to sports and entertainment facilities and related and ancillary uses on properties in the industrial land use designation text of the land use element. C, updating circulation element maps and text to reflect vacation of portions of West 101st Street and West 102nd Street and to show the location of the proposed project. And D, updating safety element map to reflect the relocation of the municipal water well and related infrastructure.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
I make a motion to adopt a resolution approving specific plan amendment number 2020-001 to amend the Inglewood International Business Park specific plan to exclude properties within the project site from the specific plan area.
Second.
Hold on 1 second. Madam Clerk, before we vote, are you supposed to make an announcement, or will that come after?
After.
It'll be after, Mayor, yes.
All right, Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye.
Mayor, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Inglewood, California, approving Zone Code ZC 2020-001 to establish a sport and entertainment overlay zone in Chapter 12, that's Planning and Zoning, of the Inglewood Municipal Code, and to rezone certain parcels in the project site to conform with the existing general plan land use designation.
Madam Clerk, I'm gonna have to ask you to reread that because there's one word in the second sentence that you didn't read with fidelity.
Yes, sir. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Inglewood, California, approving zone change ZC 2020-001 to establish a sports and entertainment overlay zone in Chapter 12, that's Planning and Zoning, of the Inglewood Municipal Code, and to rezone certain parcels in the project site to conform with the existing general plan land use designation.
I make a motion to waive further reading.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye, I'll introduce the ordinance.
Second. Oh, introduce it, okay.
Okay. Madam Clerk.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Inglewood, California, approving zoning code amendment ZCA 2020-002 to Chapter 12, Planning and Zoning of the Inglewood Municipal Code IMC to establish regulations for the sports and entertainment overlay zone and adjust other land use controls.
Motion
Mayor, I
to waive
make a
further
motion
reading.
to waive further reading.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye.
I'll introduce.
Morales introduces. Let's see. Where are we right now? Are we
I
on-
need to read the title.
You
again.
need to read this number after number 7, is that right?
Yes, Mayor.
All right, go ahead.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Inglewood, California, approving amendments to Chapter 2, Administration, Chapter 3, Motor Vehicle and Traffic, Chapter 5, Offenses Miscellaneous, Chapter 10, Public Works, and Chapter 11, Building Regulations of the Inglewood Municipal Code, IMC, to permit development and operation of the Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center.
And I just want to confirm, when you read motor vehicles, you meant the plural motor vehicles, is that correct?
Yes, Mayor, motor
Thank you.
vehicles. Yes, sir.
I make a motion to waive further reading.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson. Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye.
I'll introduce.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution approving the sports and entertainment complex design guidelines and infrastructure plan, including implementation and administration, B, design guidelines, and C, infrastructure plan. The SEC development guidelines will address certain design elements, including building orientation, massing, design and materials, plaza treatments, landscaping and lighting design, parking and loading design, pedestrian circulation, signage and graphics, walls, fences, and screening, sustainability features, and similar elements.
Before there's a second, I'd like you to go over it one more time, just to make sure that.
From the beginning, Mayor?
Yeah, yes, sir. And there's a reason.
Mayor, I make a motion to adopt a resolution approving the sports and entertainment complex design guidelines and infrastructure plan.
Then SEC.
In parentheses, SEC development guidelines, and including A, implementation and administration, B, design guidelines, and C, infrastructure plan. The SEC development guidelines will address certain design elements, including building orientation, massing, design and materials, plaza treatments, landscaping and lighting design, parking and loading design, pedestrian circulation, signage and graphics, walls, fences and screening, sustainability features, and similar elements.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye. Madam City Clerk.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Inglewood, California, approving a development agreement by and between the City of Inglewood and Murphy's Bowl, LLC, concerning the Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center.
The IPAC. I make a motion to waive further reading.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye.
I move to introduce.
Introduced by Councilman Franklin. So. Consent calendar. Items 2 through 6.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye. A1.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations. As to the first item that we had for closed session, that was the Davalos versus the City of Inglewood, LA Superior Court case number BC 685958. And there's discussion was held and direction given to staff. And as to A2, there's no oral report.
Thank you. CM1.
Thank you, Mayor. There's no oral report from the City Manager's office.
CC1.
Yes, Mayor, just a reminder that nomination period closes August the 7th.
CT1.
Monthly Treasurers Report for the month ending March 31st, 2020.
Receive and file. CSA2.
Monthly Treasurers Report for the month ending March 31st, 2020.
Receive and file. Adjourn to successor agency H2.
Monthly Treasurers Report for the month ending March 31st, 2020.
Receive and file. Adjourn to Housing Authority JPA 1.
Monthly Treasurers Report for the month ending March 31st, 2020.
Receive and file. Adjourn to JPA. There are no appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. Public comment for 1 minute. Any person who wishes to address City Council on any matter connected with city business not elsewhere considered on the agenda may do so at this time.
Mayor, I'd like to remind this council once more that my badge has been deactivated, and the only way I can get to the 9th floor is I have to have the assistance of someone to get me to the 9th floor. None of my staff's badges work. Mayor, but you are a bully, an intimidator of women, And some of the employees that you've intimidated is no longer here. Angie Pacheco, housing manager, gone. Barbara Ono, finance department, fired. CPA. Margarita Cruz, forced into retirement, redevelopment department. Melissa Herbert, finance department, gone. Melanie McDade, your former executive assistant, fired. And not only that, she was intimidated also and harassed and intimidated. And according to readings in the papers that you entered her home without her knowledge. You spoke from the dais. Go choke yourself. Mayor, you're almost 70 years old. You need to grow up.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
You're almost 70
Ms.
years
Brown,
old, man. You need to grow up.
Ms. Brown, you're at time. Thank you, ma'am.
Grow up, man.
Thank you very much.
How can the council support somebody like that?
Thank you, ma'am.
Grow up.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Council remarks. Councilman Dodson.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to, I'd like to join with the nation in mourning for civil rights leaders and icons, Reverend C.T. Vivian and Congressman John Lewis of Georgia. My wife and I were college students in Louisiana during the civil rights movement, and Pat in the marches, participated in the marches for voting rights and inequality. Members, I'd like for this council to support the renaming of the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, to John Lewis. Mayor, I would also like for you to close the meeting in memory of civil rights icon Reverend C.T. Vivian and Congressman John Lewis. May they rest in peace. I have just one other thing I'd like to say. I've been in this city 50 years. This is one of my most proud moments since I've been here. The only thing I'm disappointed in is that my friend Willie Agee is not here with me to celebrate. I don't care who you are or where you are. If you live in Inglewood, this is one of the best days for the city. And I would like for everybody to be proud of what we have done and accomplished here today. We have one of the greatest planning departments in the state of California. And they did a wonderful job with putting all this stuff together. And as far as our mayor and council go, it speaks for itself. So with that, I thank everybody for coming and participating, and have a great week.
Okay, are there any persons in Community Room A that want to make public comment? Okay, no comment there. Operator, are there any persons on the line that wanted to make 1 minute public comment?
We have one caller. Caller, please state your comment, name and comment.
Yeah, I'd like for the city council to explain why it is so difficult to get information from them, action, resolution of issues for years. There's still been no follow-up or any resolution. I've been harassed and I've been intimidated by administration individuals as well as other employees. And this is ridiculous. It should not go on. It should never happen. It's been reported to you all. It's been emailed. You've been called, and you refuse to respond to the emails and the calls, and then vilify me and create a culture around me and get other people to say things that are not appropriate either. In addition, I would like all city council members to be listening while I'm talking instead of talking to each other, and to please address the issues that have been sent to you and your employees, which have not been addressed and have not been adequately responded to or anything else. And to please stop the culture, the misogyny, the harassment, the intimidation, and a bunch of other things that have been going on. It is uncalled for, it is unprofessional, and it's unfair, and it should never happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, with that, we'll close public comment. Councilman Padilla.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple of points here, and I know Mr. Gerard stepped away, but he had acknowledged several folks from city staff and others for the work they've done on putting this whole presentation together, and I just want to reiterate that appreciation. You know, that's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, but again, that's who we are now in Inglewood, right? We get these things done, and we move forward, and we do it in a very professional way and a very transparent way. And if you look at that EIR, it was very detailed and very transparent. And I just want to say kudos to everybody responsible for putting those reports together. And I want to thank also Mindy for doing a great presentation up here. Mindy, thank you so much. It's always hard when you're doing a public presentation and then you're trying to change the slides or something, but you did it, you got it done, and so thank you for doing that. I also just want to say, you know, these are some very exciting times for not only the city of Inglewood, but when we make these positive changes, when we make these transitions of a city that we once were to where we're headed, it's just not impacting Inglewood. We impact the region. We have become the talk of other communities, and I had an opportunity to listen to a presentation, and gosh darn it, they were using a word kind of like Inglewood adjacent, right? But it was all the way over at Jefferson and La Cienega, right? And I was like, when they were talking about this building that's going up and da-da-da, I'm thinking, and I'm trying to think of where that is. They were talking at this presentation about the big building by Target over at La Cienega and Jefferson. But again, that's kudos to all our community members, our residents, our business owners, staff, all the hard work that we do, that now everybody wants to be a part of this success. And we welcome them to join us, to be a part of it, to come to these meetings. We had a couple of folks that came and made comments, folks that have called in. You know, this is your city council, and we work hard for you. All the folks up here, our staff. So with that, I just want to say today was a very successful day, but it's in par with what we've been doing and will continue to do to move the city business forward. We're not going to get sidetracked. We're not going to let other folks, you know, bang on pots and pans and try to make noise and deter us from what we're doing. We're doing some great things. Join us. Be a part of this positive movement here in the city of Inglewood. Thank you and enjoy your week.
Thank you, Councilman Franklin.
I would just echo the same sentiments by my colleague Padilla and want to give a quote from Councilman Dotson. Teamwork makes the dream work. And it's all of our team efforts as a city, this council, and the residents that have made the difference for the beautification, growth of the city of Inglewood as a destination site. And on that note, everyone be safe. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Morales.
Thank you, Mayor. And as my colleagues have stated, this is a great day in the city. You know, first, let me say, excellent job by staff and our consultants to do the staff report, all the work that was done on the EIR. I mean, it's one thing to jump into that type of project and be the staff on it. It's a complete other thing to know that every decision you make, all the work you're doing will be challenged, guaranteed. That's pressure. And with that pressure, they came up with an excellent report. And I have to say that I haven't seen that type of effort on any project. I'm very proud of the city staff that did that and our consultants. And of course, The Clippers, as an organization, have been nothing but transparent and upfront, and we're lucky to be partnering up with them. That being said, I want to just, on more at-home feeling, there was a young man that got up there and he said that he was here, he's been in Inglewood his whole life, and would drive by the forum and how he felt about it when it was empty and dreaming. Well, I must be slightly older than that young man, but I feel very much the same. I remember when it was full, and then I remember when it was empty. And you drive by, and no matter how full or how empty, the forum always was the symbol to us as residents. Hollywood Park was always a symbol to us as residents. And to see it reach a potential that everybody who loved those locations knew it could reach is something special. And then to add to it. So a lot of decisions have been made to get us here, and the residents have been extremely supportive of it. The noise, as described by my friend up here, is something that is used to deter, but the silent majority is extremely proud of their city. They're extremely happy with the work being done. And the noisemakers, they're trying to figure out a way that we can stand in our own way, because that's the only way that we don't reach our potential, if we do it to ourselves. So these decisions, I can tell you, we are your city council, and we're willing to make not only this decision, but all the tough ones that we need to make our future happen. So, Mayor, this is definitely a proud day in the city of Inglewood. I commend both you and my colleagues for everything. Thank you.
I have to tell you that I echo what all of you have presented today. And when you think about it, you know, my history with the city goes back to 1972. And we were City of Champions, literally. 3-peat championship, Showtime Lakers. The Kings, who would later become champions at another venue. The racetrack, Seattle Slew, number of Triple Crown winners ran here. And then we went through the bad days, you know. Lakers and Kings left, racetrack crowds diminished, the recession, housing crash, and all we had was crime and a brand of poverty and gangs. In 2011, when I took office, we were within 8 or 9 months of not being able to make payroll, cash flow bankruptcy. And since then, we did what people said could never happen. We brought the forum back to life. We thank Madison Square Garden for that, for their investment. Stan Kroenke, he came, talked, had a talk with myself and Councilman Morales, in fact. And from that conversation, he developed an interest. The city showed its interest by signing an initiative that allowed the council to bring the stadium project to life. The LA Philharmonic came, and they're going to have their youth orchestra headquarters right next door to City Hall. The Girl Scouts of Greater Los Angeles left Marina del Rey to come to Inglewood. Their group is 35,000 strong, extends out to Newport Beach, and their headquarters is here in the city of Inglewood. We have a plethora, a slew of events, the Super Bowl, WrestleMania, the Olympics, the NCAA Championship Bowl game, and daily, I receive calls from people that are interested in making themselves part of the Inglewood brand. And Councilman Dia, you are so on point about that whole Inglewood adjacent thing. There was a time when people wanted to sell a property, and anything had to do with Inglewood, they wanted to have LA in the title. LAX Range, LAX Waffle, LAX Tacos, LAX this, LAX that. And now, people that are selling properties in Westchester, Baldwin Hills, Ladera Heights.
Your time is up, Mayor.
I'll give myself 3 more minutes.
Give yourself 3 more minutes.
Okay, Madam Treasurer, you're out of order. I'm running the meeting. Okay, and so we have come to the point where everyone wants to be associated with the Inglewood brand. Everyone wants to be associated with the Inglewood brand. And that's due to a lot of hard work. Our planning people, our public works people, the city council being unified, eye on the ball on the direction that we're headed. And so now, here comes Steve Ballmer, who makes the largest commitment of a sports team owner in the history of sports to the city of Inglewood, total of $100 million. Now, we, the council, we've frozen rents at 3% for the next 5 years. During the COVID crisis, we put a moratorium on evictions. In all of our development agreements, we've insisted that we shoot for a 35% local hire goal. It manifested itself in the Forum project. It manifested itself at the Stadium project. 1,200 Inglewood residents go to work every day that didn't have jobs before. 100 convicted felons go to work every day that didn't have hope for life before. And so now here we come. It gets better and better. Steve Ballmer is going to provide resources that will help our housing situation, our first-time home buyers program, rental relief and assistance, youth programming, a youth center. We continue to reach the pinnacle of success for cities. There are cities right now, and I empathize with them. They don't know what they're going to do because of the damage that this COVID-19 virus has done to city revenues. They've hurt ours as well. However, we saved the money along the way. And all those people that criticized us, the state auditor, Morlock, all those people that criticized us, where are they now? The papers that criticized us for the shrewd debt swap moves that we made, where are they now? And so we've come to the point, and I think it was you, Councilman Morales, that said it. We're to the point where they just hope we will self-destruct ourselves, all right? And unfortunately, there are people that are willing to do that. So I want to thank the public, and I want to thank all of our partners that have invested in this city, and not only invested in this city, but invested in our residents by agreeing to these local hire provisions. Because if it doesn't work for the residents of Inglewood, it doesn't work for us. And I got to tell you, these partners that we have, they're great people, and they prove themselves to be great people. And with that, I want to adjourn the meeting in the name of C.T. Vivian and Congressman John Lewis. And we're adjourned.